Late on Saturday afternoon, Phallic, still in his bathrobe, unshaven and unshowered, is sitting in front of the TV watching a basketball game when he hears knocking at the front door. He can't imagine who it is. He expects no one and is a bit annoyed. He'd started the day with a hangover and was still feeling more than a little liverish. He calls out for his wife to go to the door, but she calls back from the kitchen. "You get it." Why can't she go to the door? She's fully dressed and he isn't. She doesn't seem to do anything anymore but watch TV. When he's watching in the den, she watches in the breakfast room. He pulls the robe snugly around him, reties the belt, and adjusts his genitals. Then he opens the front door. Standing there, dressed in Sunday best, are Nat and Jane Bellow. The Bellows live in New Jersey. What are they doing up here? Nat carries a paper bag that's shaped like a bottle. The couple takes one look at Phallic, and Nat says, "Are we early? I thought for sure you said 5 o'clock. Phallic's mind races. He hadn't extended an invitation to the Bellows. Had he? Of course not. But here they are after a 2-hour drive. He can't just send them back. "I think I did say 5. We're just running a little late, that's all. Come in, come in. It's good to see you guys again." "It's been way too long," Jane says. "When you called the other night, I said to Nat, I bet it's been 5 years since we visited the Phallics." "All of that, maybe longer," Nat agrees. The couple is removing their overcoats. Phallic's brain furiously is trying to recall when he telephoned the Bellows. Or are they pulling his leg? Nat is famous for his practical jokes. "So how's Lily?" Jane asks, looking around the empty living room. There are stacks of unread magazines and newspapers by the 2 easy chairs, and the unvacuumed carpet is badly matted with cat fur. The room looks distinctly untidy. Phallic snaps on a floor lamp and the room brightens. "She's fine. Let me go tell her you're here. Then we'll all have a drink. Make yourselves at home."
"Who is it? Who's here?"
Lily asks when he enters the kitchen. She is feeding the cats. She looks okay for company. She's wearing the same black sweater and slacks she wears every day. He wonders when they get washed. Perhaps she has more than one set. It's Nat and Jane. They've driven all the way up from New Jersey. They claim I invited them. They expect dinner, I suppose. It's after 5.
"Dinner? There's nothing thawed but that package of hamburger. It's hardly big enough for 4.
"Well, can't you make a meatloaf out of it? Use some oatmeal or something. Don't you have any meat extenders?"
"I never extend my meat," Lily says virtuously.
"You may have to tonight. And throw together a big salad."
"With what? You didn't go to the supermarket today like you do most Saturdays. The cupboard is bare, Buster."
"I didn't feel well today."
"I don't doubt it. If I drank as much scotch as you did last night, I wouldn't feel well for a month."
"Me?"
"You! Wandering all around the house at midnight, stumbling and falling. You do remember tripping on the lamp cord, and I had to come help you up?"
"Of course I remember."
But he doesn't. Not at all. Phallic is about to look to see exactly what there is in the cupboard when Nat calls out, "There's somebody at the front door." Phallic hurries to the door and opens it. There stand the Garrisons from White Plains. She clutches a small bunch of cut flowers wrapped in tissue paper. The Bellows had not been playing a joke. "Eleanor and Fred said to tell you they'd be a tad late," Hillary Garrison says. "The babysitter can't come till 6. Jane and Nat, Hillary and Frank, Eleanor and Fred. Just how many had he invited? He probably called George and Olga Weiser and Bob and Reed Carter, too. In panic, he reaches to check the liquor cabinet. There's no scotch, of course. He must have polished that off last night. There's a little vodka and some gin. That is all. Then he remembers there is a bottle of very cheap California Chablis in the refrigerator. It tastes like something you would sit in to remove a wart, but it would have to do. "Make mine scotch," Nat calls out. "Mine too," Frank says. "On the rocks. Short glass." "Honey, I've got to run to the liquor store," he tells his wife. He sees she is shaking a whole box of Cheerios into the meatloaf. He hopes they aren't stale. They hadn't eaten Cheerios in months. "You're going out looking like that?" He glances down and realizes he is still in his bathrobe. He's been so busy answering the door, he forgot. "So I'll put on some clothes." "Better buy lots more hamburger." "I will, but keep extending your meat, kid."
She makes a face as she breaks eggs into the meatloaf. He sees she intends to add a dozen. In the bedroom, he checks his wallet. There are only a couple of dollars there. Luckily, the liquor store and supermarket cash his checks. In his driveway, he encounters the white Cadillac of James and Mimi Hamilton. Mimi rolls down her window, leans out and shouts, "Should we park on the lawn?" "Beats the shit out of me," Phallic wants to say. "I have no idea how many are coming." As he gets into his car, he sees Howard Lewis Russell and Dan Rice coming down the driveway. Can Bill Cole and Marvin Cohen be far behind? As he drives to the liquor store, he remembers vaguely making some phone calls. It was a Saturday night about a week or two ago. He was very depressed and got very drunk. He decided a party with all his friends was just what he needed to cheer himself up. If he had a party to look forward to and surrounded himself with friends, he'd pull out of his depression. How many calls did he make? He'd never know until he reads this month's phone bill. At the liquor store, he encounters Spencer Dawes, the local kleptomaniac, just as he is stealing a pint of gin. He hides it in his hip pocket. "Oh, hi," Spencer says, unabashed. "I'll be at your home in a trice." "The more the merrier," Phallic says with a heavy heart. When he returns home, there is no longer room in the drive for his car. A long line of cars is parked on either side of the highway. He parks on the shoulder about a quarter mile away and walks back home, lugging his grocery and liquor bags. He's already certain he should have bought 3 times the amount he did. When he reaches his drive, he encounters Bonnie Ray Jones and her husband. Bonnie Ray had written a well-reviewed novel about the Vietnam War. It had amazed Phallic how much about combat a non-participant had known. He'd met her at a party in the city recently, and he told her it was the best damn war novel since The Red Badge of Courage. "Norman won't be too happy to hear you say that," she'd quipped. "Neither will Joe Heller," he'd answered. He supposed he'd called and invited Bonnie Ray to his party too. "Hi guys, you're headed in the wrong direction. Party's this way." His friends will be impressed to see he knows Bonnie Ray, especially the Wisers, who are literary agents. "We certainly are not. You've dragged us all the way up here from the city, and you clearly didn't make any preparations whatsoever. The house is packed, there's nothing to drink, I've gotten cat fur all over my cashmere skirt, and your wife is in the kitchen having a nervous breakdown trying to extend her meat." "What's the matter? Can't take a joke?" Phallic banters. Then, seriously, he says, "Don't go. I've just gotten some supplies. We'll rally." He pats the bags. "No, thank you. If you want to know, I just saw her put cat food into the meatloaf. In the future, don't call us, we'll call you." They storm up the drive. Phallic realizes he never even learned her husband's name. He assumes the man is her husband. He might have been her significant other, a term he cannot get used to. As he approaches his home, Phallic sees the Carters and other guests also departing. Bonnie Ray seems to have begun an exodus. "Wait, stop!" Phallic calls. "We'll rally! We'll rally!" But they don't stop. A steady stream of defectors drives away, some cursing Phallic under their breath. Soon he and Lily are alone. Lily goes to bed, exhausted from extending so little meat. Phallic puts away all the liquor he'd bought, decides to pour himself a nightcap. He sits by the fireplace in his favorite wing chair, with a drink in his hand, a cat in his lap, and a dirge in his heart. Around midnight, quite drunk, he realizes he has been making phone calls. He doesn't remember how many or to whom. He simply finds himself with the phone in his hand. They were all calls to friends, of that he is sure. He remembers holding forth in a firm, stentorian voice, telling them his story, telling them why he is what he is. What else they discussed, he hasn't a clue. Had he mentioned a party? He might have mentioned the possibility of a party. He doesn't know. He just remembers talking into the receiver endlessly.